Okay, am I looking good for this one? Is my tie straight? Is my hair well kept? Last time I had this cowlick sticking out of the side of my head, and the entire time I was doing the video, everyone was just commenting on my hair. And just like, Tekking, I can't pay attention to you talking about philosophy and about Vegapunk because your hair. I'm like, okay, am I good? Am I presentable? Yes, that's why I wear a suit when I do these, so I can be presentable. Alright, this will be One Piece, chapter 1063 review, titled, The Only Family I've Got. It's going to be a Bonney chapter, so you know where that's going. I don't know why I had that snark right there. Bonney is an awesome character. Oh my god, guys, here it comes, another chapter about Jewelry Bonney, because Oda cannot just stop focusing on her character. How many chapters has she had before this? 1063 chapters of One Piece. There's been like a good 900 of them that have all been focused on Bonney. Yeah, it's actually probably good that we're finally getting some character backstory for her. Actually, a very heartfelt moment with her in this chapter really made me feel for her plight. Okay, but first, we have the continuation of the Germa Double Six's emotionless excursion in Totland. Except we do not focus on the Germa this time. We cut back to Cacao Island. A little bit of an odd thing. Last time we saw Cacao Island obviously like frozen over. Like the fountain was frozen, the water was frozen, all of the citizens were like running away, frozen in place. And I mentioned it was frozen. Now, the cover page did not specifically say that it was frozen, okay? So a lot of people are actually commenting like, hey, it doesn't look like ice. It actually looks like the death gas, the Shinokuni that like Caesar developed at Punk Hazard, like the petrification stuff. And then I guess there was even a few people that were like, well, what if it's Galdino's wax fruit? And I'm sorry, I'm just sitting there looking at it and I'm trying to look at it from like a different angle and I'm like, guys, it's clearly ice. Like, I'm sorry. I think the only thing that might get confusing with that is back when Caesar did use the petrification weapon at Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard was already frozen over. Well, half of it was frozen over, but you get it. So you had literally ice and snow that was then covered with petrification gas, then hardened. Okay, so maybe it's like because it was so icy on Punk Hazard with the petrification, it still looked like ice. So I don't know if there was like a confusion, but no, it is very clearly ice, and I think Aokiji is very clearly involved here. In this chapter, we see Cracker completely frozen over. Cracker is on the ground. Charlotte Cracker frozen like this. His hair is bent. His firecracker power has gone out. He doesn't have firecracker abilities. What he does have, though, is because he ate the biscuit fruit, he can summon crackers or biscuits, and his hair is always potentially like sparking because of a pun, because of a firecracker. You get it? So whatever. But anyway, that's gone out. He's on the ground. He's probably not dead, but he looks pretty defeated. He looks pretty frozen. I don't think he's going to be getting back up at any point here. Brule is next to him, because remember the last time we saw Brule and Cracker, you know, they were thinking that Reiju and Ichiji had arrived at Cacao Island to rescue their brothers. And then Brule was like, oh, well, we're gonna go defeat them, you know, quite quickly while Big Mom is out, you know, in Wano. So she opened up a portal to the mirror world and like goes through with Cracker, and we think they're just gonna fight the Germa, but no, they probably ended up having to fight Aokiji, along with another person we do not know yet. Although Aokiji is allied with the Blackbeard Pirates, so it might have been a member of the Blackbeard Pirates, who knows, it might have been like Lafitte or somebody, for all we know. But Cracker was very quickly defeated, and Brule is there crying, you know, over Cracker's body, and also she has a little bubble that appears with a pudding in it, and the caption is that Pudding's been kidnapped, okay? So Brule is probably crying for the state Cacao Island is in and Chocolate Town. Also, her brother is now frozen solid, possibly dead for as long as, you know, she's concerned. And then Pudding has also been kidnapped. Now, you know what? This is actually an example where the cover page actually maybe directly ties into something happening in this chapter. Now, the cover pages have always been relevant. I don't want you guys to think the cover pages are just these fun little side stories that never go anywhere. The cover pages are canon, and more often than not, they will tie back into the main story eventually. Like, look what happened with the first cover series, Buggy's, like, you know, misadventures being separated from his body. That tied back into the main story at Logtown. Hachan, Floor Stroll tied back into the Sabaody Archipelago arc. Eneru's Great Space Operation will probably tie back in at some point. But it's very unusual for the cover page to tie back into events that are like occurring in the actual arc, in the actual chapter, which basically just means that, to me, the story is just speeding up, because how many cover stories are really left, you know? If this is the final saga of One Piece, like, I'm thinking we might get at least one more cover story after this one, after the Germa Double Sixes, but there might not be another one beyond that. Like, it might be the Germa Double Sixes and then one more cover story after it, because Oda doesn't do these back to back. There's usually a break in between them, and then after the next one, that might be it, you know? So that might be why we're speeding things up here, but I did want to bring that up, and I guess we'll cover it in the chapter when we get to that point. Well, anyway, so we continue right where we left off last time, with basically Luffy, Bonney, and Chopper stuffing their faces with the vending machine on an Egghead Island. Atlas is there. Atlas's dress has been corrected. Last time, her dress said number 6, and that was actually corrected. She's actually satellite number 5. Wrath number 6 is yoke or desire, so that has been corrected there. That was like a little press release that came out earlier this week. Also, we don't get to see the Seraphim of Kuma. We don't get to see Cypher Pool Zero in this chapter at all, but his hair was supposed to be white, like the Lunarians, okay? So just to correct a little bit of that there. So yeah, you have Luffy, Chopper, and Bonney. They've just stuffed their faces, so they're in that comedic state they're in where they're all like, you know, big and fat and on the ground, and like, they're all like, oh, that was great, that was a delicious meal. And Atlas is there, and she's just like, wow, you guys really stuffed your faces. Your bellies are all bulging out. And then Jinbei's there, and Jinbei's just like, actually, this is how I always look. Are you calling me fat? So, anyway, Atlas is like, well, you know what? Thank you, everybody, for, you know, the nice, like, comedic routine that you all did, I guess. I gotta get back to work. If I'm not gonna bring the wrath around here, then who will? And then Atlas just leaves and proceeds to punch the shit out of everything in town on her way out. To like, Luffy just wondering, like, what kind of job does she have again? And it does kind of seem a little bit odd of why Vegapunk would create a version of himself, or a version, or at least a clone, or a robot, or whatever the satellites are, that just goes around destroying things. But then you stop to think for a moment, and you realize how particular Vegapunk is, and how much of a high standard he has, and it kind of makes sense, because if Vegapunk makes, like, a device, or a giant robot or something, and Atlas is able to destroy it with one punch, then that just means that, like, I need to be better, I need to make, you know, version 2, or version 3 even better or sturdier than before. Yeah, so Atlas is more of like, she's like the strenuous tester or whatever, to make sure that like everything can handle like the shock absorption or something. You know, like imagine if Vegapunk created a video game console. It would be the greatest video game console ever, right? Okay, and you gotta test it to make sure that it doesn't break if you drop it, or if it gets punched by a giant robot lady. Obviously, right? Vegapunk comes out with the PlayStation 7, and then Atlas shows up and just BAM! Punches it. It maintains its integrity. And yeah, it's like, oh, there you go. See, that's the greatest video game console that ever lived. Also, there's a recycling dog, which I find adorable, okay? So, like, as, like, obviously Luffy, Bonney, and Chopper have been eating so much food, there's just piles and piles of waste all around them, of, like, styrofoam boxes and everything, but that's okay, because Vegapunk recycles, and so he invented a recycling doggo who's a heckin' good boy, and just like, arf, arf, and just, you know, walks over and just eats all of the trash. And I don't know, converts it to like energy or takes it to a recycling facility. I'm not sure what happens, but there is a recycling doggo, so like Vegapunk is like leagues ahead. Now, you know what? All the other stuff we've seen up until this point, an island-wide aircon system that can manipulate the weather, turning a winter island into a tropical island, a magical vending machine, a glove that can interact with and punch light. This is a dog that eats trash. This is where I really am believing that Vegapunk is 500 years above of his contemporaries, you know what I mean? Alright, well anyway, yeah, so Atlas just leaves, she wanders off, and now I guess the next thing is they actually begin to notice there are other people here, which was like a question for me, like, is this a town, or is this just like for like robots and Vegapunk and the satellites and that's it, right? Are like actual people living here? Because because there was a vending machine that, like, dispensed food. I was just assuming that, like, okay, people probably live here, or is this just there because Vegapunk loves to invent things, regardless if anyone's able to use them? I'm assuming the satellites also can eat. I don't know if they need to eat in order to survive, but they probably can eat if they wanted to. But now we're getting an answer to that. So everybody's looking around, and they're beginning to see people now actually walking down the street that are not made of light, that aren't holograms, right? And so each of these people have like cloaks and like big winter jackets. It seems like most of their faces are obscured with like hoods or hats or whatever. But there's like various words like written on their jackets, and I can't make out all of them. It might be more clear in the anime when this gets animated, but one of them does say petrology. Petrology, P-E-T-R-O-L-O-G-Y. I'm in a spelling bee all of a sudden. I don't know why I felt the need to spell that. You could have just Googled it. But anyway, petrology is the scientific study of the origin of like small minerals or rocks. So I guess it's a branch of like geology, okay? So considering that's the one that I could actually make out and read, I'm assuming all the other ones, actually there is another one that has history on it. So yeah, we have like studies of history and geography. Can we have the geography expert? Who is the foremost geography expert on Egghead Island in the New World? I need to meet that person, okay? Well, anyway, so yeah, they're probably all different, like, science members, like, not really so much on the level of Vegapunk, but maybe Egghead is seemed as, like, this is the hub of scientific invention and study in the One Piece world, so, they'll have, like, lab assistants and stuff travel all over the world to study on Egghead all these various disciplines, okay? I don't think these people are particularly strong. I don't think these people are, like, they're not revolutionaries, they're not pirates, they're not marines, they're just intellectuals that are drawn to Egghead Island, much in the same way that scholars and archaeologists and everybody, anthropologists, were drawn to Ohara. And we all know what happened to Ohara, right? Which is actually kind of similar to what's happening with the Cypher Pole Zero arriving now at Egghead. So, the government is certainly, whenever a lot of smart people tend to gather in one island at one location, the government starts to get like, oh, I don't know about that, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all lining up, you know what I mean? Actually, you know what I'm thinking now? Cypher Pole Zero got sent to exterminate Vegapunk. What happens if they fail? What happens if the Straw Hats and Vegapunk's satellite bodies beat the shit out of Lucci, Stussy, and Kaku? What happens then? Will Eam just decide to summon the giant laser weapon over Egghead and just try to nuke it from orbit? Like, that might be plan B. Like, Cypher Pole Zero has failed Eam-sama. Eam is just like... like, it might be something like that, don't know. So they're like, oh yeah, I guess all of these lab assistants of Vegapunk, I guess they were just hiding in the buildings until they were, like, waiting to see, like, what we were going to do, because we are pirates that are just, like, we just landed on the island out of nowhere, right? I guess after they were finished eating, all the lab assistants were like, well, they're just stuffing their faces over by the vending machines, so I guess it's okay. I guess they're cool. I guess we could just walk around now and resume our, maybe they were on their lunch break, who knows, whatever. Maybe they were taking a merienda or something. Okay. Well, anyway, the next thing up is that Luffy finds a fashion store, okay? Yeah, seriously. And it's kind of like a vending machine. It's sort of like it opens the door and you go in and it just closes and you can push a button, like, what kind of style do you want? Like, 90s punk, please, and you walk out in, like, grunge attire or something, and then it undresses you, and then, like, it's kind of like, have you guys ever watched Psycho Pass? I love Psycho Pass. I haven't watched that much of it, but from what I have seen, where it's like everything's futuristic and you could just, like, everything's on a touch screen, where, like, it's time to get dressed for the day, just beep boop zoop, and it, like, that was such a cool concept, kind of like that a little bit. Well, anyway, Luffy walks into the clothing machine or whatever, he pushes a button, and he walks out, and he's futuristic Luffy now! Coming to a figurine near you. There's gonna be a lot of new figurines in this chapter that are gonna be released, probably. Anyway, Luffy walks out, he still has a straw hat, of course. I guess the machine was like, okay, we'll remove your regular clothing, but the hockey coming off the straw hat was too intense, so it couldn't take that off. But Luffy does have, like, a long, it does look like a winter jacket, and they were like, everybody was dressed like this. Everybody everybody was wearing like these long parkas, even though it is a tropical environment. So Bonney is like, aren't they like hot right now walking around like that? But Luffy walks out and he's just like, wow, these clothes, they feel so light, they're so comfortable, they're like perfectly fitted for me, like this is awesome. So he's wearing this long cloak, it has SSG written on it. Hey, you gotta spread that brand. You know, the SSG, the Special Science Group, just got released, you know, to, you know, cover for the Warlord system, so Vegapunk has to advertise that everywhere. It's on like billboards in town and everything. It's like the newest addition to Vegapunk's, you know, Master Science Extravaganza, the SSG. You know, you gotta get that material, you gotta get the marketing and all that stuff down, okay? Well, anyway, he walks out. Luffy's also wearing these like futuristic boots where they reminded me of something and I couldn't think of it for like the longest time. I thought they just reminded me of the Germa's like little bubble shoes that the Germa wear that they can kind of jump around on. And Luffy even says, and when Chopper and Bonney, they change as well, Bonnie's like, man, these boots make it feel like I'm just like gliding on the air. I'm like floating right now, right? Like it reduces your overall weight or like messes with your gravity or something like that. And I'm like, where have I seen these like this footwear before? I've seen this before. And it took me forever to realize, and then I finally got it. It's Ochako Uraraka's hero outfit from My Hero Academia, where Uravity. And so, yeah, it's the same kind of design. That's where I've seen it before. And it was like bugging the crap out of me for like 15 minutes. I'm like, where have I seen these before? Okay, so they all get really cool outfits. You know, Bonney kind of like gets a battle outfit. She's like, oh, can I get a battle outfit? Okay, she goes in and like undresses. There's like, I can undress myself. And then it's she's like, oh, okay, this is cool. You know, and so she walks out. Jinbei, I love Jinbei, dude. Jinbei really is, like, I made the joke a while ago, like, Jinbei's, like, the dad of the Straw Hats taking his kids to, like, the amusement park, you know, where, like, Luffy and Chopper and Bonney are just running around, pushing buttons and playing with vending machines, and Jinbei's just in the background, like, all right, kids, just calm down now. No, Jinbei is a dad because he could have gotten like awesome futuristic like battle gear and then like, you know, something from like Gundam or some shit. And then instead of that, Jinbei just walks out in like a pair of dad shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Just like... I love it! I love it! It's great! This is peak comedy right here, guys. Jinbei walks up. Man, they had a great selection of Hawaiian shirts. This will be great. Now, he mentions it's because he wants to go undercover, like a disguise. He even admits, though, like, I think we're probably beyond that. I'm pretty sure everybody knows we're here. But yeah, so that's Jinbei's, like, casual vacation style. When he's not rocking the traditional Japanese kimonos, he's just, you know, wearing Hawaiian shirts and cargo shorts. I think he's wearing cargo shorts. I don't really see his shorts that well, but, you know, I imagine that. So, you know, he's just like, yeah, I'm ready for the vacation. All right, now, where is the cabana? I want to get, you know, just like, okay. Well, anyway, it's a really cool outfit, and they look awesome, and I'm sure they're going to be in a lot of figurines in the future here. So Bonnie's about to leave the group. She's like, okay, well, I got food, I got changed out of my like wet clothing from the sea, I got battle gear, I'm ready to go, so I'm gonna go and look for some weapons. I guess Bonnie's just like, I'm gonna go try to see if there's a vending machine that just dispenses like bazookas, and then I'm gonna go and, you know, hold Vegapunk up at bazooka point. All right, you guys have fun. It was great meeting you. She says it so casually. But anyway, no, right before she leaves, Luffy's on top of one of the buildings eating a piece of pizza, and he's just like, wait a second, Kuma's here. And everyone's just like, what? Huh? Kuma? And then sure enough, he looks down. By the way, Luffy's future sight is so finely tuned now that he doesn't even need to, like, you know, like, focus his mind, like, go into his Zen avatar state anymore. He could just see the future. He just has the ability Katakuri has now. So he's just like, wait a second, Kuma's coming down the road. He's gonna fire a laser at us. He's gonna charge at us. We should probably move. You know, it's just like, it's so like just ingrained now. Like, it's just like second nature to him. So sure enough, we see a police officer marching down the street that is the design of Bartholomew Kuma. Or rather, I think this is like maybe a reskinned version of the original Pacifista. You know, maybe Vegapunk, you know, made the first line of Pacifistas on Egghead, and then he just reskinned them. You know, Vegapunk, you know, I wonder how much money it costs for the DLC to get get Kuma's, you know, police outfit. You know, I wonder, like, you can get like a design package like in Persona, you know what I mean? And it's just like, all right, Bartholomew Kuma, this is the basic pacifista design. This is the police version. This is the astronaut version. This is the construction worker version or whatever. He has like a pickaxe or whatever. You gotta get the battle points. You gotta get the V-Bucks. It takes a lot, but you can get there. You can get there, okay? Video games are weird now. Do you ever step back and just think, like, wow, video games, they're weird now, but it's whatever. Anyway, Kuma's walking down the street like he's the biggest sheriff in the West, and then Luffy, sure enough, is just like, we should probably move. He's about to charge at us. And sure enough, Kuma is like charging at them, just like, halt, criminals! Unlawful theft of clothing and food! And Luffy's like, he's gonna fire a laser at us. I will now fire a laser at you! And it's like, okay, and so they all dodge out of the way of the laser. They don't get hit by it, but Bonney is stunned when she sees the policeman Kuma. She's just like, what? Okay, now here's the thing. Couple of things here, and they even bring this up as they're dodging out of the way of the lasers. Like, wait a second. We had to pay for that crap, but they just came out of the vending machines. Like, literally, there was no payment involved. Like, they just walked up to the vending machine and it's like, extra big-ass hot dog. Just like, awesome. And they just ate the hot dog. It's like, stop, you have theft from the vending machine. You do know how vending machines work, Vegapunk, right? Typically speaking, you put the money in first and then the product comes out. Like, if I'm really thirsty and I see a soda machine and I was like, oh man, I could go for some nice, refreshing, I'm not really a fan of soda. Dr. Pepper, I guess. I'd be like, oh, I guess I'll have some Dr. Pepper. Is there any iced tea in this? Like, okay, now this is just me at a vending machine. Like, is there iced tea in this? No? Okay, is there any what? No? All right, what do we got here? We got Fanta, ugh. Got Sunkissed, I don't know, man. Coca-Cola, ugh. Pepsi, ugh. Dr. Pepper, I guess, beep, okay. And then it just comes out and I'm just like, look, stop thief! I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So yeah, and the clothing machine, same deal. You just push the button. Was there even an option to put in money? I don't even know if there was. Well, anyway, Kuma's charging at them and launching laser beams. Stop thief! You have stolen, like, okay, admittedly, they have probably stolen quite a hefty amount of food. I don't know how much the clothing cost, but the food, like, alone, they probably several $100s or probably several tens of thousands of berries that were probably wasted on the food if they did have to pay. But I love how Kuma is like, the policeman Kuma is just like, stop, you have stolen some food. Bam, 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 just like unloading the laser barrage on them. Halt, criminal, we must bring you in for questioning. Bam, 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 bam. Just like freaking Vegeta just unloading ki blasts on freaking Goku or whatever. Just like, yeah. Okay. So anyway, they all dodge out of the way of the lasers. They don't get hit by it. Luffy lands and is like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we gotta fight him, right? And then Jinbei's like, yeah, well, I guess so. I mean, we're pirates. I guess it makes sense that they would give us this kind of warm welcome, right? So Luffy just, you know, gear third, hockey, he's about to like elephant gun Kuma in the face, or the pacifista in the face, and at the same time that happens, Bonney stops him. Bonney like kicks Luffy back. So pretty athletic right there, and we gotta showcase a little bit of hockey from, I guess, Bonney, because otherwise I don't think she'd be able to like kick Luffy and knock him back as well as she did if she didn't have hockey. So she kicks Luffy back. Maybe it was the boots, I don't know. Knocks him back, and they dodge out of the way of the laser again, and then Luffy's just like, what are you doing, Bonney? You know, it's not real. We have to stop him. He's firing lasers at us. And then, at that moment, Bonney just begins to weep, and she looks into the pacifista's face, and is just like, please don't hurt him. He's my dad. And so that's when, you know, Luffy, because like last chapter, she just mentioned that her father was turned into a cyborg by Vegapunk. She didn't say that it was actually Kuma, Bartholomew Kuma, the warlord, the tyrant, was actually her father. So this is the first time Luffy, Jinbei, and Chopper are learning about this. And so they're all like, what? Kuma is your dad? And then we see this this is very heartbreaking. It's a moment with Bonney bathed in laser light as like the pacifista policeman's about to charge up the laser and attack her. She is crying, snot running down her nose, and she's just like, please don't hurt my daddy. And then it cuts to a scene with her as a kid and then being held up by her dad. And we see Kuma in a way that we've never seen him before. You know, we always see Kuma wearing the jacket with like the target on it and carrying the Bible. Here we see a younger Kuma. He still looks pretty old, but we see Kuma wearing like a cloak kind of thing, like a hood, and he has long hair and he looks like he's wearing glasses. It's Dad Kuma. It's Dad Kuma. And he's just holding up a baby Bonney like, woohoo, yay, you know? And so Bonnie's like weeping. She's like, oh, please don't hurt my dad. And so it's at that point where Luffy's just like, wait, you gotta get out of the way. It's just a pacifista. So this scene ends with Luffy diving in front of Bonney to get her out of the way because she's just on the ground just staring at Kuma. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty damn sure that Bonney is aware of the existence of the pacifistas. She might not know about the Seraphim, but she knows about, like, the first generation model of the pacifistas. She knows that Vegapunk has been mass manufacturing these things. I mean, Bonney was present at Marineford. All of the supernovas were kind of surrounding Marineford and watching what was happening. I just can't see any reason why she would not know. She was at Sabaody. She has to know the pacifistas exist and that they bear her father's likeness, okay? But that's not the case. It's just that, like, it's not like she thinks this is actually her father. It's that, imagine that your father was taken from you at a young age and then transformed into a lifeless, emotionless cyborg robot, okay, and then was mass-produced all over the world. So you are constantly reminded every time you see a pacifista that your father's, like, you know, emotions and morality and everything they ever were, everything they ever will be, the person that raised you was, like, ripped right out of them, and now they're just, like, robotic death machines that are stomping around the world like Terminators, okay? So I don't think Bonney literally thinks that this policeman right here is her actual father, Bartholomew Kuma, but it's traumatizing to her. It's just like, that's my daddy, please don't hurt him, you know what I mean? And so Luffy goes to, like, get her out of the way because she's about to get hit, like, point blank by this laser. We see a giant explosion happen, and then we cut away. All right, so that's that scene in the chapter. That's all we get. So, holy crap, right? I think, you know, Luffy and Bonney managed to dodge out of the way, and they'll escape, they'll get away or whatever, especially since Luffy has future sight and everything. It's kind of like a little bit of a cheat code for him. But yeah, so I think they're going to get away, and then they're going to find some place to hide. Maybe they'll go back underground. Maybe they'll run into another one of the satellite bodies or something, and they'll give them, like, a safe haven, a place to crash or whatever. Maybe one of the lab assistants will help them out or something. Maybe it'll be the geography dude. It's like, hey, everybody, geography is everything. Get in this house. I'm like, okay, cool, cool. Oh my god, I just realized, Oda loves to do stuff really over the top a lot of times. I would love it if they do run into a dude that has geography written across his outfit, and he's like, come into my house, everybody, and it's like his house is just decked out in, like, maps and globes, and all of the Straw Hats are there, and it's like, wow, this is crazy, this setup you got, and he's like, yes, geography is truly everything in this world. I don't know how I would respond to that. I would just love this story even more. Anyway, that's my own little fan fiction. Moving on now to a random place in the New World where Trafalgar D. Waterlaw and his crew, the Heart Pirates, are being bombarded by the Blackbeard crew. Yarg. Okay, pause. Before we even... Okay, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here in this latter half of the chapter. I do want to say this, though. This is breaking the overall arc structure of One Piece. And it once again makes sense. We're in the final saga now. Things are going to move a lot quicker and a lot different pace, okay? But this is, I just want to, like, this is weird. For the Straw Hats to be at this new island doing their new adventure, and then in the middle of that, we just cut away to see what Law's up to, and at the end of this chapter, it implies this might actually carry over to next chapter as well. That's weird, okay? Now, in between the arcs, we usually get this, like what's going on with other people, and even occasionally in the arc itself, when there's a break or a lull, we'll cut away to see what somebody else is doing, like in Wano, like in the act breaks of Wano, like in between Act 1 and 2 and 3, we got to see what other people were doing in the world. This is unusual, though. The Straw Hats have just reached Egghead, they're just beginning to explore the place and learn about Vegapunk, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, pause for a moment, let's see what Law's doing. Like, that's weird. Not saying I'm complaining, I'm just saying that it's weird for the act structure, which makes sense, because you know, Oda probably can't do it the same way he normally does, where we have all of Egghead, and then we see what Law's doing, and then we have a whole other arc, and then we see what Kid's doing. Like, Oda's gonna have to start doing this stuff concurrently. He's gonna have to start, like, alright, Law's crazy adventure is going on at the same time that Luffy's at Egghead. This is what's going on with Law. We'll probably get some stuff with Kid or the other, not the other warlords, the other supernovas at some point. Like, what's going on with Beiji? What's going on with, you know, Drake? Did he get away from Wano? We're gonna have to probably cut away and see this a lot, so just keep in mind for that. Anyway, so Law's crew is underwater in the Polar Tang. They're escaping bombardment by one of Blackbeard's ships that's on the surface, I guess just launching cannon fire or something. The Polar Tang has been struck a few times, and so there's like an engineer on Law's crew, and he's just like, Captain! Captain! You know, he's getting hit by water, like the hull is breaching. It's like, Captain, we need to surface! We're gonna sink! If we take another hit, we're done! And then Law is just like, okay, alright, if the pressure's gonna crush us, alright, everybody, let's surface. And it's just like, okay, and then, alright, what's the funniest way for me to describe this, about what's gonna happen here? Okay. So, Law's giving the orders, all of the Heart Pirates are running around, and then the camera pans back, and Law, you know, Law is there, got Kikoku, got the sword, got the hat, and everything, and Law is just like, okay, men, prepare for battle! And Law is a woman. Yeah, Law is a woman. Just total Rule 63, just whoop, and just flipped his sex, and now is a woman. No setup, no nothing, just Law is a woman now. Okay, okay, first of all, Oda has already drawn Law as a woman. Oda's actually drawn, like, most main characters as, like, a reversed of their sex anyway. So, he already drew all the Straw Hats, you know, Rule 63, and then drew all of the, Warlords. No, not the Warlords, but the Supernovas. Yeah, the Supernovas in Rule 63. So, Law was part of that group. Also, there is, I'm aware that there is a Law Rule 63, figurine. So, that exists. I don't even know if I could show you all of that, but, yeah, that exists as well, and so now it's canon in the story, which there was already a figurine, but there's gonna be a lot of fan art of Law now. Like, Law was already a popular character, but yeah, so Law is very serious though throughout all of this. Law is just like, hey, prepare for battle, everybody! But then you have Sachi and Penguin off to the side. Penguin is still, wait, yeah, that is Penguin, right? Yeah, he's wearing the hat. So he's still, like, his normal sex. However, Sachi has also turned into a woman. And so they're, like, holding each other. And they're like, oh, Captain, you're so cute now! Beppo has also turned into a woman. Although I find it funny for Beppo and the minks in general. Because, like, the only major difference is, like, whenever, like, okay, Beppo was just, like, a polar bear. Now that Beppo is a woman, Beppo just has, like, long blonde hair now. Like, that's it. Like, just, like, on top of his fur, just hair grows. I'm like, I find that funny. But anyway, so yeah, all of the members of the Heart Pirates are, like, having their sexes just flipped, okay? Which, most of them are guys. In fact, I think all of them are guys. I think there's only one woman on Law's crew, and her name is Ikkaku. So maybe Ikkaku turned into a guy. But other than that, they're all changed. Well, actually, maybe not, because we'll get to that in a second. But anyway, it's acting like an infectious disease, where it's like, you know, you come in contact with somebody that's turned into a woman, you will also turn into a woman. Like, this is like a thing that's, like, spreading around the crew. And so Sachi and Penguin are there like, oh, Captain, you're so kawaii now. And then Law is just like, do you want to die? We're in the middle of a life or death situation right now, you know? Also, it doesn't help that Law is wearing, like, a tank top, so it's just like, are you guys really saying it? Just bouncy, like, whatever, like, it's distracting, okay? Well, anyway, this is, like, ravaging the entire crew. So they are beginning to surface, and there's, like, Law's like, okay, there's an island to the north of here, and we need to surface, let's get on the island. And Law realizes, wait a second, from my battle with Big Mom in Wano, I know that I can use strong hockey to negate or nullify devil fruit powers. And so Law just exerts, like, a tremendous amount of hockey, and then, boom, he turns back into his regular regular self. He turns back into a guy, and he's just like, ah, okay, I did it. And it also seems like the rest of the crew changed back as well, because we get a panel with them. Jean Bart is a guy, and the other crew members seem to turn back into their regular sex, whatever it was. And so, you know, because the only thing is, like, Hikaku's there. I'm not sure if Hikaku changed her sex or what, but anyway, they're all back to normal after they arrive on the island, okay? So, yeah, what's going on with that? Did, like, Ivankov show back up in the story, or what's up with that? And we cut away. We get 2 full-page spreads back-to-back, and it's awesome. 2 double-page spreads back-to-back, I should say. So, we cut away from the island. So, Law's submarine, the Polar Tang, arrives on the island. All the crew gets out. That submarine is wrecked. They're not going to be able to escape wherever they are, but they are on land right now. Then we cut away to one of Blackbeard's ships that's on the shore of the island approaching the beach. And we see Doc Q, who was one of the original members of Blackbeard's crew. We saw Doc Q way back at Jaya. He was the one that, you know, is the sickly... Well, he looks like a sickly old man. He's actually, like, younger than I am. He's, like, 28 years old. I know, right? But he's, like, this sickly guy on a horse. The horse is named Stronger, who is also equally as sick as he is. So he's just on this horse, and he's just like, hi, everybody. And the horse is like, oh, you know, very sick. And he was the one handing out those, like, apples that, like, exploded to people, right? So Doc Q is the 9th Titanic captain in Blackbeard's fleet. A little bit unusual because all the other original members of his crew, like Lafitte is the 2nd, no, it goes, okay, hold on. It goes Burgess in charge of the 1st fleet, and then Shiryu in charge of the 2nd, Van Auger in charge of the 3rd, Alvaro Pizarro in charge of the 4th, Lafitte is in charge of the 5th, I think Katarina Devon is in charge of the 6th, I think San Juan Wolf is in charge of the 7th, Vasco is the 8th, and Doc Q is the 9th. We don't know who the 10th Titanic captain is yet, and then the Blackbeard himself is, you know, he is the fleet admiral, the admiral of his, like, Yonko fleet, okay? Well, anyway, Doc Q is there, and he mentions that, there's a little bit of a translation thing, so one way to look at it is the you've become a woman disease. Like, that is the actual name of the disease. Like, you just turned into a woman disease. And it's kind of reminiscent of Usopp's, like, I'll get sick if I go to, I'll die if I go to that island disease, which might actually turn out to be a real thing now. It was kind of a translation thing during Odin's flashback of whether or not Buggy caught the, if I go to that island, I'll get sick disease. So I think it was corrected. That's not actually what it was in the official Viz translation, but considering, like, there's a strange disease like this that exists in the One Piece world, like, you'll just turn into a lady disease. I think if you die, if you go to that island disease, probably exists as well. In this translation, Doc Q has a little bit of a pun with it, where it's a malady disease, or malady disease. So it's like a malady, like you're sick, like I got a malady, but it's malady. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Wah. Okay. Well, anyway, so Doc Q is there, and he's just mentioning, like, and it's like, oh, yes, well, you know how sickness is. You know, if one person gets an antibody, then the entire, you know, all the cells of the body are able to fight it back. So I think that implies that since Law was able to use his haki to break the disease, all the other members of the Heart Pirates were also able to nullify the disease. Now, that just accounts for maybe this disease, and the way that Doc Q talks about it, it was more of just like a gag or a joke, like one of his personal favorites, just kind of like, ha ha ha, the turn you into a lady disease, pretty crazy, right? That implies to me there's a lot more dangerous, like lethal kind of diseases, like real chronic illnesses that, you know, Doc Q could release upon you, okay? This was just like, you know, this was just him having fun, if nothing else, right? And get some fan service in there, and it's like, I just used that technique so that the Rule 34 artists would have some stuff to work on this week. Now we get to the real diseases. You know what I mean? It might be something like that. Doc Q is revealed to have the sick fruit. Now, I thought that for a while there, I was under the assumption maybe that Doc Q had a Logia that was actually the disease fruit. Like, he was literally the Logia embodiment of disease. And he could literally make anybody sick that he touches, and he could turn into, like, bacteria or, like, viruses or something. Like, that would actually be really, really powerful. So, the way that it's described, it's probably not a Logia. It is just a paramecia that allows him to control all forms of disease and infections, bacteria, viruses, whatever you need to do, and he could just afflict other people. Could he afflict COVID-19 on people? Doc Q, damn you! You know, it's like, well, maybe something, I don't know. I don't know if it's like any disease. Because think about this. If it's literally the sick fruit, any disease, anything is on the table. Like, I mean, this is really dark here, especially because I've known my grandmother died of brain cancer, but like, could he just inflict brain cancer on somebody? Because if he could do that, that's a pretty damn OP broken power. I guess maybe if you could just use hockey to, like, nullify it, but, like, the potential here is very terrifying. That's why Doc Q, back in the original, the crew, remember Blackbeard did not have a bounty back then. He was a member of Whitebeard's crew. He left. He didn't have a bounty until after the whole Marineford incident. So Blackbeard's bounty was 0. The other members of his crew, like Burgess and Lafitte and Van Auger and Doc Q, they all had bounties prior. Doc Q's was the highest. Doc Q's was like 72 million, and all the other ones were like lower than that. So it makes sense that Doc Q would have had the highest bounty. We don't know what their current bounties are. They're way higher now. This was back like when they were first like members of Blackbeard's crew, way back at like Drum Island and Jaya. They were that high. But even back then, that was kind of impressive. So now their bounties are probably well over 1 billion. I mean, Doc Q's might be one of the higher ones, like maybe behind Blackbeard, because of just the sheer damage he can wrought. If Law did not have, and it's not just having hockey is enough, you have to have strong hockey. You have to have enough hockey to physically like break the Devil Fruit power, which also makes me think there might be a serious link here between like hockey and Devil Fruit powers. Like Devil Fruits might exert some kind of pressure or like magic or something, and then with your power of your hockey, you're able to like turn off or nullify the magic. I mean, Vegapunk might explain it later in the arc. That might be why Oda included this. Like, why does hockey affect Devil Fruits in this way? How come if you learn hockey, you're able to touch a Logia? It might be because of like their polar opposite abilities. Like they might be similar, but like just the polar opposites or something like that. I don't know. The origin of Devil Fruits might have something to do with human beings that have hockey or something. I don't know. Anyway. So, that's with Doc Q, very dangerous ability. Now we see Van Auger. Van Auger, I think this is the first time we've seen Doc Q and Van Auger since the time skip. Van Auger has grown like a goatee now, so he has like a mustache goatee kind of combo, and he looks over at Burgess. We have seen Burgess before. We saw Burgess at Dressrosa. He was Mr. Store who fought in the arena. And so, you know, Van Auger looks over at Burgess, is like, Burgess, they've landed on that island. I'm going to send you over there. And Burgess is like, wee, yeah! Because he's like a Mexican luchador kind of fighter. And so Van Auger uses his ability of the Wapu Wapu no Mi. The Wapu Wapu no Mi, oh my god, that's the most terrifying Devil Fruit ever. It just turns you into Wapple. No, the Wapu Wapu no Mi is in the Warp Fruit. So, yes! We finally, I was waiting for that one, okay? I was waiting for that Devil Fruit, the teleportation Devil Fruit. You think of all the crazy superpowers that exist in fiction, Oda has not done the teleportation power yet. Yeah, sort of Law's ability can do that, but it's like a limited teleportation. He has to open a room, like teleport within a set space, and he can increase the space, but it like lowers his own stamina and even reduces his lifespan if he makes his room big enough. So I was waiting for the Devil Fruit power that allowed you straight up teleportation, like freaking Minato from like Naruto, like the 4th Hokage, like the flying Raijin technique, or like a straight up teleportating ability from like, you know, Hunter x Hunter or something, you know? Teleportating? Yeah, teleportating. You know, yeah, just like warp you wherever you want, maybe in the entire world. So the fact that Van Auger now has that fruit, just that's beautiful. For him to be able to teleport as a sniper, probably one of the best top-ranked snipers in the entire world, like next to Yasop and Ben Beckman, Usopp as well. Van Auger's probably going to fight against Usopp at one point. The idea of him having a teleportation fruit, that is scary as shit. So we don't know the full limits of this. We don't know if Van Auger can send somebody to the other side of the world, or if it's only a place maybe he's been before, or if he has to physically see it with his eyes. Like, as long as he sees the island, he can warp somebody to the island. I'm not really sure how it all works, but it's a teleportation fruit, and it's badass, and that's all I care about. Okay, and then finally, we get Burgess's fruit. So Van Auger warps Burgess over to the island, so he's right there when, you know, as soon as Law's crew is arriving, like, okay, we got some time to, oh no, and then Burgess is already there, because he teleported. Burgess has the power of the Riki Riki no Mi. Riki just literally translates to strength in Japanese, or like buff. So he has the power of the buff fruit, and he just lifts up a whole damn mountain, like literally a whole damn mountain, just whee, and then just chucks it at the crew. Law uses room to, like, you know, disperse it so they don't get crushed, but like that's terrifying. Okay, also, Jesus Christ, Burgess, I mean, Jesus Burgess Christ, I mean, whatever. Anyway, the idea here is that, okay, super strength is like one of the most baseline superpowers. It like is the quintessential superpower, right? Like whenever you think of superhero abilities, probably like the first thing you're gonna think of is super strength, you know, being able to lift the strength of 1,000 men, you know, that kind of shit, right? And I think that goes back to Superman, who's, like, effectively the world's first superhero. I mean, I know, like, okay, like, if you really want to go back, like, the Greek gods and the gods of antiquity are kind of the origin of, like, superheroes. But in terms of, like, modern sort of, like, superheroes, probably Superman, right? Like, he was probably the first. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not like a Western comic like expert or anything. Was there like a superhero, super strength, super speed flight like before Superman existed in like action comics back in like the 20s? I don't know. Maybe there was. But it's so weird that we're 1,063 chapters into One Piece and we're just getting to the devil fruit that just gives you super strength. It took that long to get to here, but we're here. Now, one thing that I remembered is back when Burgess fought against Ace at Bonney Island, remember, Burgess lifted up a whole damn building back then. Ace was on top of the building, kind of just talking to Blackbeard, and then Augur took out his gun and shot him, and it did nothing to Ace because he was a Logia, so the bullets just went right through him. And then Burgess followed that up by lifting up a whole damn hotel and, like, chucked it at Ace. Now, Ace just used his Marinomi to, like, torch the building. Then Blackbeard said to them, both of them, like, Burgess, Augur, you're not strong enough to be fighting a guy of his level yet. So that makes me think back then, they didn't have devil fruit powers. Augur was already a sniper, like a crack shot with his rifle. That was already established. And Burgess was already super strong. I mean, he's like this buff, like masked fighter, like luchador kind of guy. So and you know, it's even mentioned here by Law that these guys stole all these devil fruits. Okay, so like Burgess, Augur, and Doc Q all had devil fruits maybe that they acquired from somewhere else. Maybe Doc Q might have already had his devil fruit because he always looked very sickly. I mean, he might have just been really sickly and the sick fruit just made it worse. But you know, also, Stronger has a devil fruit too. Stronger has the horse fruit mythical variant model Pegasus, which I kind of freaked out for a moment because I remembered Pierre from the Skypiea arc, Gonfal's bird companion, and I remembered Pierre could turn into a Pegasus, and I was like, oh my god, is Pierre? Did they kill Pierre? Did the Blackbeard pirates travel all the way to Skypiea? And they land and they're like, Zay ha ha ha! We finally made it to the sky! And then Gonfal shows up and he's just like, what are you ruffians doing in my domain? I am god of this land now. I shall protect it. And then, you know, Blackbeard's there like, Zah! We're looking for the strongest devil fruit ever, and then we're gonna get out of here. Owned by that bird. And then Pierre's like, Pierre! You know, and then they kill Pierre, and then they steal the fruit. No, so Pierre only had the original, like, regular model of the Uma no Mi, or the horse fruit. Because Pierre was a bird, when Pierre turned into his hybrid form, he took the appearance of a Pegasus, but he didn't actually have the Pegasus fruit. It was just half bird, half horse, therefore Pegasus. With Stronger is a horse that ate the horse fruit, so kind of similar to, like, Sengoku eating the mythical human fruit. Sengoku was already a human, or even, I guess, Luffy eating the mythical human fruit model Nika. Kind of the same thing, right? So Stronger ate the horse fruit, allowing Stronger to become a Pegasus. A Pegasus is, there's a few different, like, Pegasus is referred to as the horse deity, like the deity of horses in some, you know, mythology in Greek. I think there's one story, because mythology is kind of all over the place. It'll have a lot of origins for certain characters. I think in one story, Poseidon gives birth to Pegasus, and then there's another story where after Perseus slays the Medusa, the Pegasus comes out of Medusa's body. There's like a few different versions of it, but it's a horse with wings, just roll with it. Also was the creator of Duel Monsters, Maximilian Pegasus. Actually, you know what? Can I rant about something really quick? Well, it has nothing to do with One Piece. I'll make it quick and we'll get right back because this is a crazy chapter. I was so pissed off when I found out what Pegasus's real name was in the manga. Do you know what it is? Like his real name in the manga and the anime? They changed it to Maximilian Pegasus in the 4Kids dub. His real name is Pegasus Crawford. For those of you that don't know, Crawford is my last name. So I would have loved that if they just kept it in the 4Kids dub, like, my name is Pegasus Crawford, Yugi boy. I'm like, oh my god, an anime character has my last name! I mean, it's Pegasus, but like, whatever, you know? That would have been so cool! I didn't find that out until way later, but I'm like, whatever. Okay, so Burgess has super crazy strength back then. I'm assuming that they gave him this super strength fruit to even multiply it even further. So he was already strong enough to lift up buildings, like 2-story buildings with 0 effort. Now, with the strength fruit, the buff fruit, gadoosh, he's able to lift up entire mountains with just like 1 arm, basically. He looks like he's lifting it with no effort. He's like, oh, wait, let's go! You know, I just realized that, Burgess has the same catchphrase as Mr. Poopy Butthole from Rick and Morty. Ooh, wait! Ooh, wait! You know, there it is. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, he lifts up a mountain, throws it. Law uses his room. He disperses the rock. But they're kind of in a pickle right now. A pickle Rick, as it were. So, Blackbeard arrives on the Pegasus, Stronger, and Doc Q. So, Doc Q is this sick man on a sick horse. And then Blackbeard is this big, towering, fat guy that just gets on the back of the horse and just like, fly me to the island! And Stronger and Doc Q are like, yes, Admiral, but we're getting crushed here. So Blackbeard lands on the island, and Law's there, and he has Kikoku, and he's just like, oh, what do you want? And then, I can't draw my sword when I have my clicker. There he goes, like, what do you want, Blackbeard? Why are you here? And Blackbeard gets off, and he's just like, zay ha ha ha. I was waiting to see which one of you pirates was gonna run into me first. Was it gonna be you, Straw Hat, or Kid? You know what? I'm actually happy it was you, Law. How about this? You went to Kaido and Big Mom's places. You got some poneglyphs. I know you got some road poneglyphs. So how about this? We'll fight, winner take all. Actually, I think it's Law that says it. I think, yeah, Law is just like, yeah, let's settle this right now. Winner take all. Law? Dude, he is a boss in this chapter. Law runs into a Yonko right after facing off against 2 Yonko. And he's just like, all right. Let's just do this, winner take all. I either die and I lose, or I win and I live. Whatever, let's go. You know, like, there's no other option. The Polar Tang is completely destroyed, or not completely destroyed, but it's not seaworthy right now. They're on an island in the middle of nowhere. There's no escape. You know, Law, I mean, like, you know, he can't teleport off the island. They can't do anything with that. And so, you know, also, even if they could, Augur has the warp fruit. So it literally could follow them wherever they go, assumingly, if it is a straight up just teleportation wherever Van Augur wants to fruit, right? So, you know, Law's kind of backed into a corner here, but it's just like, okay, I guess we're fighting today. And it's kind of a concerning one, absolutely, because Law has probably the single strongest fruit in the entire One Piece world. Hold on a moment. I have it over here. Oh, boy. All right. So this is it right here, guys. This is the Op fruit. It has the ability to heal a lot of wounds if you're a doctor. It has the ability to switch people's personalities. Has the ability to, give you immortal, not immortality, but like eternal youth. So kind of immortality if you're just careful enough. It can make you eternally young, and that's the main focus of the fruit. There's an operation that can do that. So Blackbeard's probably looking to that in some way, kind of the same thing that Doflamingo was looking for. There's just so many things. This is my favorite devil fruit. You know, if Blackbeard gets his hands on this, that's going to be a problem. Also, it would indicate that Law would have to die, so that's not good. So, yeah, and this was, you know, this was set up for a while now. Law has this ridiculously powerful devil fruit. There's a lot of parties that are interested in it, and Blackbeard's would be the most. Now, Blackbeard also, he doesn't bring up the op fruit here. He brings up the road poneglyphs, or the load poneglyphs. He's just like, hey, you guys took down Kaido. I know Kaido had one, right? So this is Blackbeard doing the smart thing. He's like, I'm not going to go fight Kaido. Screw that. I'm going to wait for some other people to defeat Kaido, and then I'll go after them. Probably the same thing that's going to happen with the One Piece. The Straw Hats are going to find the One Piece, sure, but then all the other pirates are just going to be waiting to see when the Straw Hats get the One Piece to attack the Straw Hats at that point. That's how you do this. You don't, you know, go after it yourself. You just wait for somebody else to get it and take it from them, right? So, let's do a little bit of a recap here on who has which poneglyphs, because I think that's kind of important, because Blackbeard even brought it up, like, you know, you have some road poneglyphs now, don't you? Say ha ha. All right. So first and foremost, let's go over the 4 road poneglyphs and their locations if we know about them. The first one is the road poneglyph that is located on Zou, and it is located in the Whale Forest, guarded by the minks, and this is the first road poneglyph that we got to see in the story. Next, we have the road poneglyph that is located at Whole Cake Chateau, which is located in the treasure trove behind some steel bars in Big Mom's territory. So Big Mom is in possession of that one. Then we had the poneglyph that was located in the basement of the castle, castle in the flower capital of Wano, and this was kept by Kaido. And then finally, we have the last fourth mysterious road poneglyph that was originally kept in the sea forest at Fishman Island. It is no longer located there because Robin did not see it there when she went. We do not know where this one is located. Now, out of the three main parties here, we have the Straw Hats, we have Law's crew, and we have Kid's crew. The Straw Hats are currently in possession of 3 road poneglyphs. They received the poneglyph at Zoe when they went there. There was really no trouble. The Minx just politely showed it to them, and then they copied it down. And then we had the one that Brooke managed to get from the Whole Cake Chateau that Big Mom was in the possession of. And then Robin also managed to see the one that they had at the castle at the Flower Capital after they defeated Kaido. Tenguyama or Sukiyaki politely showed them where the road poneglyph was. Now, they still do not have the 4th road poneglyph, and we do not know where this one is located, okay? Next up, we have Law. Law also has the one at the Whale Forest, or in the Whale Tree, because he was there with the Straw Hats, same as them, so he at least probably made a copy of it that he has in his possession. And he also has the one that's in the possession of Kaido, because he was also there with Robin when Sukiyaki showed them that. We actually do not know if Law has the one from Big Mom. The Straw Hats may have given it to him, but Law was not present at Totland, so I mean, there's, as with Kid stated, there's other ways to get your hands on it, but Law might only have 2 road poneglyphs right now, and he also, of course, does not have the 4th one. Finally, we have Kid. We know for a fact he does not have the one that's the 4th road poneglyph, because everyone is looking for the 4th road poneglyph right now, although he might know how to get to it with the man marked by flames. That was kind of the whole indication there. Law might know about the man marked by flames as well. So then, he also has the one that's in the possession of Kaido, because they all got that one, and then also the one in Totland. It was mentioned that he defeated one of the commanders. The Kid Pirates defeated one of the commanders and got a poneglyph rubbing from them. And also, I guess Kid does not have the one at Zoe. So the Straw Hats kind of they're in the lead right now, unless, like, they have a sense of fair play, and at the end of Wano, they all shared their poneglyphs with each other. Like, they were, like, trading, like, Pokemon cards or something, you know? Like, Kid is there and just like, hey, Straw Hat, do you have a Zoe road poneglyph? And just like, yeah, actually I do, here you go. It's like, all right. And Law's like, okay, Kid, I'll trade you my Kaido poneglyph for your Big Mom poneglyph. It's like, okay. It's just like, was it something like that? Are they all on the same keel right now? I imagine they wouldn't be. I don't think Law has Big Moms, and I don't think Kid has the Zoe one. I just don't think that makes any sense for them to trade that. They all work together to defeat Kaido, so it makes sense that they would all get that one. Maybe the Straw Hats might feel like, because the only one that has the Big Mom poneglyph are Kid and the Straw Hats. Maybe, maybe since Kid and Law worked together to defeat Big Mom, maybe it was kind of a situation where Law gave Kid Kaido's poneglyph, and then Kid was like, all right, well, you help me... Sorry, Kikoku. You help me take down the old bag as well, so I'll give you the Big Mom's poneglyph too. Maybe? I don't know. So that's how they all shake down right now. We don't know how many Blackbeard has. Blackbeard might not actually have any road poneglyphs because he's just like, say ha ha, I'm just gonna wait to steal them from everybody else. And, Law has 2 at minimum, maybe 3 right now. Even if Law manages to escape with his Devil Fruit still intact though, he might actually, still lose his poneglyph etchings. They might steal them from that, Because I would imagine they would be located on the Polar Tang. So what if Augur just, warps the Polar Tang onto the, the Blackbeard ship and then just leaves? Unless, Law has them on his person somewhere. I mean, you gotta keep those things safe somewhere. Maybe Beppo has them inside of his jumpsuit. It's okay, Captain. I have them in here. Maybe something like that. You gotta be careful. Oh, I hope Beppo doesn't get kidnapped. Oh yeah, but by the way, this ties back, I almost forgot. This ties back to the cover page. So, if Aokiji is working for Blackbeard now, and maybe Lafitte was the other person at Cacao Island, they kidnapped Pudding. Pudding is a Third Eye tribe member, and Aokiji froze the island, kidnapped Pudding, so Pudding can awaken her third eye and decipher the poneglyphs that Blackbeard's now going to collect. See how it all connects back together? That is what I mean. Oda is really changing around the dynamic here, but I love him for it because this is really making sense, okay? So, yeah, and there's no break next week, so I really hope this battle just continues. I really do. I mean, we could come back to the, Vegapunk, Egghead, see what's up the Straw Hats. That's really cool. We didn't see what Zoro's group was doing in this chapter, but you know what? If we're going with this, let's just go with this. Sure, let's get 2 chapters of just Law fighting against Blackbeard, maybe more. I'm happy with that, absolutely. Oh, a little bit of a notification, though, at the end here. So there is no break next week. However, I may not be able to get the chapter review out next Friday, just because I'm doing, a speech. I'm actually doing something professional next Friday, and actually might take up most of my day. So I'm gonna see what happens. Like, if the chapter comes out maybe really early Thursday, I might just review, really late Thursday, I might just review the chapter Thursday and then have it uploaded Friday like normal. If not, I'll try to get the chapter done when I get back, but it's gonna be kind of like an all-day thing, and if that doesn't work, it might just be out Saturday next week. So just keep in mind for that. So the chapter, I'll put out a tweet to remind everybody, but yeah, that's how that's gonna go. So yeah, this was a pretty intense chapter, and I hope we just... Okay, let me know what you think. Do you want to go back to the Straw Hats to see what's up with, like, Kuma being a policeman, or do you want to follow up with the Law versus Blackbeard fight? I kind of like, Oda, you can't tease us with this, okay? You can't be like, Law versus Blackbeard, all holds bar, let's go. No holds bar, let's go. And then just cuts back to the Straw Hats, and then cuts back, and Law's on the ground, like, defeated. So, yeah, we'll see about that. But, overall, pretty solid chapter. Great cover story that ties into the actual events. You know, we got Bonney's, like, emotional revelation to the Straw Hats of, like, Kuma is her father, and she was crying, like, don't hurt my father, please! We got to see Law's boobs. That's always cool. Oh, by the way, I was also thinking, like, for a moment, like, what was the point of even doing that? Like, the whole, like, sex flip thing? Like, what was even the point of that? Like, it didn't hurt them or anything. And then I started to realize, and I think even Beppo brings it up in the chapter, like, or maybe Law brings it up, like, they're trying to disorientate us by doing that. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That is a pretty good way to disorient your opponent. Like, okay, imagine, guys out there, guys, you're on a ship being bombarded by cannon fire, but it's okay, because you're all pirates, and you know how to, like, fight back, and you're like, all right, men, rally! Arm the cannons! Take your swords! Grab your guns! And where is my dick? You know what I mean? Like, that would just sort... You're not gonna be so composed. You're not gonna be like, let's rally! I'm sorry, I gotta, you know, like, yeah, so that would be an effective way of, like, disorienting your opponent. I'm just saying. Anyway, that's the chapter. Hope you all enjoyed. This will be Tekking, signing out. Later, everyone.